Hello. I'm so glad you're joining me today because I'm sort of rogue wandering around Montana looking for wonderful places to put in the background. Again, I used to do this years ago, but it's been a while. So this is Whitefish Lake, and as you can see, it's kind of stormy, blustery, cold, about 50 degrees out. And today I want to talk about, the title is Now is Not the Time to Double Down. Now is not the time to get stubborn, to get locked in your ways, to try to, grit your teeth and wait through something, right? So what I'm going to start with is sort of draw a picture of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 things that people have called me about this morning, texted me, things I've noticed during the week, and sort of draw them all together because I'm an integrational coach, right? So it's like they're all here for a reason. So let's talk about what they're actually here to do. So the first thing is that the Schumann Resonance today, go look it up, right? Friend of mine, Katie, was like, have you seen the Schumann this morning? So I looked at it, and it is, if we were to take all of the bars, the green bars going across, they match the different brain waves, they match the vibrational frequency, and they're sort of pulsing, wong, 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 and they go across at each of our theta, beta, gamma waves. There's no like real heavy shards of white downloads or energy or battles going on. It's just green straight across. And think of the whale, think of telepathic, think of frequency, think of the vibration of wong, wong. It's sort of like gently pulsing us into something to relax. Now, for those of us that still have parts of our body that has some density or some stored pain in it, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot more, whether it's migraines, whether it's a hip, whether it's a lower back, whether it's old surgeries that have never really been addressed, knee injuries, can't be the athlete I used to be, or I don't have the mobility I used to have, or when I start to think about all of the details in controlling the facts that I used to be so good at, I get a lot of headaches. It's like, let that wong, wong, pulsing sort of come in and try to wash it away. Almost like you're gently washing it. Like you can go in when you have, when you're doing dishes and you've got a really nasty stuck crust, or you can just sort of slowly work at it and say, I have nothing else to do right now, but just sort of be present to it and work it off. And then the pot goes back to its original beauty. You can tell I'm camping, right? There's some analogies, right? So that's one thing. I think the second thing is that our timelines, our ways of doing things, the way that we work, the way that we are seeing the world is changing rapidly, whether it's political, whether it's financial, whether it's institutional, whether it's familial. Things are changing rapidly. And I'll use myself as an example, for me to be very happily sequestered up into an apartment doing years and years of research and observing, to sort of like close the books, turn off the Wi-Fi, and go out and live in a camping environment means that everything's changing, and sort of open arms, like, okay, so it's changing. What do I do about this? So know that our life is changing, and it's changing rapidly, right? I do a moon phase. Last night was the new moon. We're still in the new moon. On the East Coast, it was 12:37 a.m. So it's actually today. It was yesterday on the on the West Coast. So, new moon, blank slate, new 28 days ahead of you to sort of put out there who you want to be, what you want to be. I love new moon celebrations because they're sacred. I am starting from scratch on what I want the next 28 days to sort of look like. And I do this, these moon phases, and I pull tarot cards, and I didn't bring my cards with me, but I got the 7 of Swords. And in the thought deck, the 7 of Swords is too many voices. And I was like, I know exactly what that one is, which is, now that I'm back into working details at the front desk and answering the phone and dealing with rafters and fly fishing tours that are going out, I'm in my head thinking thinking all the time, and there's this idea, and there's this idea, and there's this idea, and then there's the family, and then there's this. So what's happening is when I'm working like that, I find that I've lost my inner voice. I'm being pulled up off my toes and sort of swirling around. I like the way the water's moving with the wind right here. With too many voices, too many influences, too many things. And then it's crossed by the Princess of Swords, and she's got her sword out, and she's kind of like, but let's cut through that and get down to what really matters. And I think, it's a beautiful message to pass on to you all today, which is what happens when all these voices, all these perspectives, all of these people, including me, tell you what to think or what's going on, and then you have to decide. You have to decipher, sort of dig your rudder in and decipher how you're going to guide yourself through that and find your own voice amidst all of that, because 7 is magnificent. 7 is sovereignty. And for those of you who've been following me, I've been doing a 7-week coaching series, which I tabled until September or October, on the mastery of 7. So it's no mistake that 7 came up, right? Next, Brene Brown talks about cognitive dissonance, and I've mentioned this before in my videos, and what she said was, it was really interesting that when you take someone who has a very attached lifestyle or perspective or experience or mental construct around something, say it's a political party, say it's an economic issue, say it's the role of a certain member of the family, whatever it is, right? It's where we sort of latch on, and it's the complete opposite of the 4 agreements, which is to make no assumptions and don't take it personally. But it's when we latch on. And when you go up to someone who's latched on like that and you say something that says, hey, this may be wrong, there may be another perspective, there may be other research, or let's step away from this science and go to this science, or you know what I'm talking about. Lots of different examples. What happens, and Brene Brown was really good at this. She said, what happens is then you're confronted with the decision. Do I let go of everything I've held on to, the way that I grip things, and kind of like go into unknown territory and expand and accept something new? Or do I double down, which is nope, I'm going to go down with this ship. And so one of the things that I've been saying, is that really the hill you want to die on? Is that really the ship you want to go down with? Is that really where you're going to lock in? And I'm saying right now is not the time to double down, not the time to go into cognitive dissonance and say, no, I'm just going to wait this out. I'm going to wait till everything goes back to normal, or I'm going to wait till the economy settles back down. I'm going to wait till the roles become more defined again. They're just not going to. So this isn't the time to double down. This is the time to move. And again, it's absolutely synchronistic that this water back here is just sort of moving and flowing, and the clouds have been shifting behind me as I've been talking about. Now's not the time to double down and get rigid. Now, today also happens to be Father's Day. And as Father's Day, it makes sense to me that we're dealing with the role of the father, the role of the patriarch, the role of the man who raised you, the man in the house, the man you are aligned with, the man. I mean, I'm not going to put any constructs on it. It is a celebration of those who fathered children and raised children. And it is also a really good time to go, I think we're changing the roles of fatherhood right now. Whether it is about joint work, joint responsibilities, about bringing the feminine intuition to the surface. I had this interesting conversation with this 25-year-old yesterday, and I said, it's the new moon, and he was like, yeah, so like, why would I care about that? And I said, well, you know, there's a lot of us that like to celebrate the beginning of the moon. He said, well, that's sort of only if you're a witch. And I started to laugh, and I said, well, I think we're all witches. or we all have that magic and that intuition ability inside us. We just have to decide that we want to go in there and find it and bring it to the surface. And that's what I'm going to ask on Father's Day, is that we all have it inside of us. It's not a female thing. It's not a woman thing. It's not a witch thing. It's a skill set. And so go find it. Go be the male role model to your community that you're going to go inside and find those magical skills, and you're going to bring them forward. How's that? So those are the random pieces that are all sort of putting this perspective that solar flares are increasing. They're steady now all the time. Schumann's just pulsing at us and taking us into a new world. So let's kind of enjoy the process and go with it. So I have 4 to 5 tips for you today on how you can do that. Okay, number 1, most important, today, tomorrow, through the next week, find quiet places where you can notice, where there's no sound. Like right now, there's not a soul on the beach. There's nobody around. And feel what you're noticing. Feel what your body tells you. Feel where the pain is. Feel where the joy is. Just feel. Get quiet enough. Turn the television off. Go sit outside in the backyard or out on the porch or whatever you need to do, right? Number 2, talk to your body. What is it that you need? I've been nursing a left hip now for almost a year, and to be able to sit down and go, okay, I'm sorry I've been ignoring you for a couple of days. What do we need to do? And once I do that, it changes. So talk to your body. If you've got migraines, find out what it's trying to tell you. If you've got a sore shoulder, find out what it's trying to tell you. If your body feels off, find out what it's trying to tell you, right? Number 3, share these insights and these feelings with the people that you love. With your partner, with your children, with your coworkers. Say, hey, I turned everything off yesterday on Father's Day and sort of just sat outside and just listened, and this is what came up for me. Start the process of sharing that kind of information, because and they're like, oh yeah, I did something like that too. And next thing you know, this relationship's moved to a different level of more insight and perspectives, right? Number 4, we are on ever-changing times. It's like a wild adventure ride. So there's no manual. There's no step-by-step procedure. There's no way to anticipate what's going to go on. And it's going to bring up some anxiety, and it's going to bring up some nervousness and some fears. And it's an adventure that you can kind of approach with. The tip is you can approach it with a smile and curiosity and wide-eyed, like, wow, and then that happened, and this is what's going to happen today. Or you can grip and go, it's getting harder. It's your choice. So number 4, it's a wild adventure, and it's your choice at all times. Choose fun. Choose playfulness. Choose curiosity. Choose leaning in, like, this was a weird day. And I've been doing that with the flares since January. Well, that was an interesting one. And sort of moving with it. Again, like this water, the wind's coming up, move with it, okay? And number 5, have compassion, because we as a human population are in tremendous changes, and I don't know exactly what that means, other than it's just, there's a world ahead of us that we're heading to that is something that we can't envision yet. We can hope, we can dream, we can desire, and we can also let go and let it surprise us. For me, I like to be surprised, and I like to go with it. So Father's Day, Schumann Resonance, continued solar flares, and do not double down. Have a wonderful weekend, Sunday, and I will see you next week. I don't know where I'll be. I'll surprise you. Take care.